Hello, it's me, Teacher Rana. So in this lesson in Understanding Culture, Society, and Politics, we will talk more about the aspects of culture. Okay, so to start with, let's talk about what is cultural relativism. So in this lesson, you will know what is cultural relativism. So cultural relativism, as you can see in the screen, is the ability to understand a culture on its own terms and not to make judgments using the standard of one's own culture. Okay. Culture is appreciated by understanding the symbols, the objectives, history, roles, and the overall meaning of its aspects. So without this, we cannot say that we appreciate it in a holistic way. So we also have ethnocentrism. So ethnocentrism, on the other hand, is a term that anthropologists use to describe the opinion that one's own way of life is natural or correct. Okay, so again, let me repeat it. Ethnocentrism is a term that anthropologists use to describe the opinion that one's own way of life is natural or correct. Okay, so some call it cultural ignorance. So some people or some anthropologists call ethnocentrism as cultural ignorance. So it means that one may see his or her own culture as the correct way of living. However, the current age calls for globalization and an awareness that culture is adopted by people from across the world. So this is good, but also possess some social problems such as alienation, racism, and of course, stereotyping. And it also includes moral insensibility and social apathy, such as cultural appropriation, abuse, and misuse of political freedom, and other factors that lead to discord within a community or nation. So I guess you learned a lot from this first slide. Okay, so let's move on to assess your existing knowledge about this topic. So the direction is you have to choose the correct letter of your answer from the given choices. You have to write your answers in your notebook. Number 1, it is the ability to understand a culture on its own terms and not to make judgments using the standards of one's own culture. A. Cultural relativism. B. Cultural appreciation. C. Cultural appropriation. D. Ethnocentrism. Number 2. It is also described as cultural ignorance. A. Cultural relativism. B. Cultural appreciation. C. Cultural appropriation. Or D. Ethnocentrism. Number 3. It is the act of taking or using things. One aspect of a culture is that is not your own and using it for your own personal interest. A. Cultural relativism. B. Cultural appreciation. C. Cultural appropriation. Or D. Ethnocentrism. Number 4. An effort to understand and learn about another culture to broaden their perspective and connect with others cross-culturally. A. Cultural relativism. B. cultural appreciation, C, cultural appropriation, or D, ethnocentrism? Number 5. The state or experience of being isolated from a group or an activity to which one should belong or in which one should be involved. A, alienation. B, globalization. C, social apathy. D, stereotyping. Number 6. A type of prejudice because what is on the outside is a small part of who a person is. A, alienation. B, globalization. C, social apathy. Or D, stereotyping. Number 7. The spread of products, technology, information, and jobs across national borders and cultures. A, alienation. B, globalization. C, social apathy. Or D, stereotyping. Number 8. It refers to a lack of passion, excitement, or even interest in social events. A, alienation. B, globalization. C, social apathy. Or D, stereotyping. Number 9. It is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized. A, cultural diversity. B, political freedom. C, racism. D, sociological imagination. Number 10. The ability of nations' citizens to participate freely in the political process. A, cultural diversity. B, political freedom. C, racism. Or D, sociological imagination. Number 11. This refers for being a male or female. A, age. B, gender. C, geographic region. D, race. Number 12. The ability to see things socially and how they interact and influence each other. A, cultural diversity. B, political freedom. C, racism. D, sociological imagination. Number 13. How many native languages in Philippines have more than 1 million speakers each? A, 14. B, 8. C, 13. D, 7. Number 14. The process by which an individual learns the traditional content of culture and assimilates its practices and values. A, acculturation. B, enculturation. C, normalization. D, socialization. Number 15. The process of cultural modification of an individual, group, or people by adapting to or borrowing traits from another culture. A, acculturation. B, enculturation. C, normalization. Or D, socialization. Good job. So you did a great job. Now that you are familiar with the terms, let's talk more or dig more about these aspects of culture. So culture is a way of life. It refers to the general customs and beliefs as a particular group of people in a given particular time. So what we are doing now, the technology that we are enjoying right now, the food and the drink we share, the language and the modes of entertainment, the knowledge we learn and develop are all manifestations of the continuous because of the continuous evolution of culture. Okay, so what is your feeling when you remember something in the past? That's nice. So let's pause for a while and let's internalize what evolution means in a culture. Okay, so you have to ask your parents or grandparents about the activities that they enjoyed during their youth. So what year is it? You have to create a log of their responses. Okay? After creating a log, you also have to create a chart that compares the similarities and differences of the culture of various races in their respective nations. You can also choose to compare the different tribes or ethnic groups within the Philippines. That's your second task. You did a great job. Okay, so let's clap our hands for that. So by evolution, we mean three processes, namely enculturation, acculturation, and socialization. So let's move first to the process of enculturation. This happens when an individual learns the traditional content of a culture and assimilates its practices and values. Okay, so for example, the use of po and opo and the pagmamano in Filipino culture is a way to show respect, right? Can you give me one example of Filipino culture that you practice? Very good. So next, what is acculturation? On the other hand, the process of cultural modification of an individual, group, or people by adapting to or borrowing traits from another culture is called acculturation. One example of acculturation is the use of chopstick while eating or speaking a foreign language. That is acculturation. Okay, how about you? Can you give me one example of acculturation? Very nice answer. Okay, so let's move on the other hand, cultural appropriation or misappropriation is the act of taking or using things, one aspect of a culture that is not your own, and using it for your own personal interest and racism. So what is racism? Racism is a discrimination directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group. So these are only some of the social problems that continue to persist in our modern times, especially right now. Do you remember the hashtag Stop the Asian Hate? Right. So that's a nice idea. I'm so glad that you are aware of these sociological problems right now. Okay, so let's move on to what is sociological imagination. Sociological imagination is the ability to see things socially and how they interact and influence each other. So we as individuals must envision a culture that is peaceful yet thriving and promotes a will for coexistence with all. Okay? To learn more or to practice more of our knowledge about this topic, let's do this activity. So we have to identify the following pictures, whether they promote cultural appreciation or cultural appropriation, and explain in not more than 3 sentences. Okay, so what is cultural appreciation again? Cultural appreciation is when someone seeks to understand and learn about another culture in an effort to broaden their perspective and connect with others cross-culturally. Okay, that is cultural appreciation. While the cultural appropriation or misappropriation is the act of taking or using things, one aspect of a culture that is not your own, and using it for your own personal interest and racism. Okay? What can you see in the first picture? Does it promote cultural appreciation or cultural appropriation? Next picture. Third picture. The next one. Another one. You did a great job. Let's clap our hands for that. So now that you know more about the difference between the cultural appropriation and appreciation, let's see if you can also understand how cultural relativism mitigates ethnocentrism. So the word mitigate means to make the effects less severe. Okay? The word mitigate means to make the effects less severe. Very good. So by this definition, the goal of cultural relativism is to lessen cultural ignorance, embrace and accept different culture as they enrich our lives as human beings. So, and another skill, of course, that one must possess to be truly appreciative of culture is the idea of sociological imagination. So, what is sociological imagination? It's like living. It's not like living a society. Living in a society is not a path towards a perfect life. Okay, problems are bound to arise. So we must keep a very clear perspective of the things that happen in our everyday lives and look beyond them. So this is what sociological imagination is all about. A person must be able to pull away from the situation and think from an alternative point of view that is appreciative, progressive, and sound. So we have a many series of activities that will focus on how mitigation and sociological imagination works. So let's do this activity here. Okay, so you have to finish each phrase with the first thought that comes into your mind after reading this one. Okay. I'll give you 2 minutes to do this activity. I think you are all done. So after doing this activity, what does this tell about you? What does this tell about you? Is it your thoughts, your habits, your preferences, or your beliefs? Very good. So, what kind of person you are? What kind of person you are? That's a nice answer. So, do you consider yourself open-minded to diverse cultures, or are you more concerned about your own culture? Again, do you consider yourself open-minded to diverse cultures, or are you more concerned about your own culture? Very nice. So imagine the ideal life for you. Imagine the ideal life for you. Does it include others living in harmony with your goals? Or you enriching their lives and appreciating what others have to offer? Imagine the ideal life for you. Does it include others living in harmony with your goals? Or you enriching their lives and appreciating what others have to offer? Very nice. That's so nice and thoughtful of you. Okay, so we have to do this second activity. You have to draw your life map. Fold a piece of bond paper once and divide it equally. On the left side, mark your starting point and write your date of birth. Plot all the significant points in your life that had a profound impact on your consciousness or has influenced you a lot in your life. Okay, so you have to get a bond paper and divide it equally like this. Okay, so once you divide it equally, and oh, on the left side, you have to mark your starting point and write your date of birth. Okay, on the left, mark. First your left, over here. Okay, so plot all the significant points in your life that had a profound impact on your consciousness or has influenced you a lot in your life. So everything that influenced you a lot in your life. Okay, so a map is almost never a straight line, so be creative with your doodle and make it really look like a treasure map. So you have to make a map. Okay, so your starting point is from the left side. Be creative with your doodle and make it really look like a treasure map. So mark the last part as the point when you learn about cultural relativism and sociological imagination. And then connect the point going to the other half of the paper. Okay, can you imagine it? Very good. So, and then you have to write the date today. Now, identify at least 3 goals you will achieve within the school year. 3 goals that you will achieve within the school year. Make sure that you have them clear in your mind. Once you have written them down, keep this sheet of paper somewhere safe and retrieve it after the school year. Okay, you have to keep. See if you have achieved the goals you have written down. This is the real test now. So whenever you overcome yourself, you always become a better person. So, good luck! And for your guided activity, answer the following questions, okay? So write your answers in your notebook. So make a list of your top 10 favorite things and identify where their cultural influence comes from. At number 2, make a list of your top 10 least favorite things and identify which culture they come from. Number 3, compare both checklists. What does it say about yourself and how you look at culture? Are you more ethnocentric or culturally relative? Number 4, you have to do a reflection about your realization in not more than 50 to 100 words. So you have to write your answers in your notebook. And for your guided assessment 1, you have to create a dialogue or draw a comic strip that portrays cultural relativism mitigating ethnocentrism. Okay? You have to create a dialogue or draw a comic strip that portrays cultural relativism mitigating ethnocentrism. The criteria for a good dialogue are: must focus on respect and appreciation of cultural diversity, must portray genuine interest and understanding of one's own culture as well as the other, and of course, must earn the approval and understanding of your guardian, friends, or elders when you make them read it. That is for your guided assessment 1. And describe your personal experience of recreation and relate it to the picture. Describe your personal experience of recreation and relate it to the pictures. And for your guided assessment 2, we will read a poem here. Okay, so after reading the poem, you have to list 3 important values that the poem is trying to impart. Write your answers in your notebook. Okay, so number 2, you have to reflect on these values and think ways on how you can practice them. And then you have to share a part of this poem in social media and tag some of your friends so that they can appreciate it as well. Screenshots of your post will be uploaded in your respective drives. Okay, so let me read the poem. I am diversity. Please include me. I'm present in every place you go. Depending on your lens, I'm friend or foe. I'm a force to be reckoned with. Like the winds of change, I move. I'm swift. I'm present when 2 or more are together. If embraced, I can make the good even better. I'm not limited to age, gender, or race. I'm invisible at times and yet all over the place. Don't exclude me due to a lack of knowledge. Welcome me like the recruit fresh out of college. Let me take my seat at the table. Even though I may be differently able, my experience, my passion, the authentic me, can help add value for your company. Learn about me, improve my underrepresentation, and I can provide a competitive edge to your entire nation. I exclude no one, I am strengthened by all. My name is diversity, and yes, I stand tall. Recognize me and keep me in the mix. Together, there's no problem that we can't fix. I am your best hope towards true innovation. And to many, I reflect hope and inspiration. Your lives and companies will continue to change. Thus, the need for diversity and inclusion will also remain. Do all that you can to truly embrace me and experience life's fullness totally. I'm the thought lurking behind the unfamiliar face. I'm the ingenuity that helps your team win the race. I'm the solution that came from the odd question that was asked. I stand out in the crowd when diversity, am allowed to be unmasked. I'm diversity, embrace me and well, journey far. I'm diversity, include me, and we will reach the. Coupled with inclusion, our lights burn longer. Together, we are smarter, better, and stronger. I am diversity. Yes, that's me. Okay, I'll give you time to list 3 important values that the poem is trying to impart. And you have to reflect these values and think ways on how you can practice them. Of course, you have to share a part of this poem in social media and tag some of your friends so that they can appreciate it. Okay? So, I think you are all done. Let's move into another activity. Okay, for your independent activity 1, you have to describe the similarities and differences of the pictures using the concept of ethnocentrism and cultural relativism. Imagine that you are about to get married. Imagine only, okay? So which among these wedding themes will you choose? A. Pre-colonial marriage. B. 1960 to 90s wedding ceremony. Or C. The modern wedding. Imagine only. You have to describe the similarities and differences of the pictures, okay, using the concept of ethnocentrism and cultural relativism. Okay, for your independent activity 2, you have to think of 4 countries or places that you want to go to. So you make a chart that portrays the similarities and differences in culture of these places. You can Google your answers to learn more about these places to plan your future visit to. Okay? You can look for Google if you don't know much of this country or place. And what is ethnocentrism? When we say ethnocentrism, this is the belief of a certain society that their culture is much more superior to the other ones. So this was stated by Ludwig Gomplowicz. So now you have to be creative in our next activity. You have to be creative and you have to describe the photo considering this is all about ethnocentrism. Okay, this is for your independent assessment too. You have to describe the photo considering this is all about ethnocentrism. So write your answers in your notebook, at least 2 to 5 sentences will do. Okay. Of course, let's analyze these sayings by Jean. Okay, so according to Jean Pierre, when I see the cultural diversity that exists today, I feel that we must defend it. And we need Europe because otherwise we are going to live in a society with a single model, the Anglo-American model. What is Anglo-American model? Do you have any idea about Anglo-American model? Very good. So Anglo-American model this model presents the board of directors and shareholders as the controlling party. The managers and the chief officers ultimately have the secondary authority. So that is the Anglo-American model. So let's analyze this one. What are the key takeaways or hints in this quotation about cultural relativism? So what are the key takeaways or hints in this quotation about cultural relativism? Again? Very good. So why do we need to defend cultural diversity? Why do you think we need to defend cultural diversity? Very nice answer. So, in your own way, how can you promote and defend cultural diversity in your community? In your own way. How can you promote and defend cultural diversity in your community? Very good. I think you are all ready for our assessment. And for our assessment, you have to match the words inside the orange box to their respective definitions. Okay? Number 1, culture is dynamic, a variety of experiences. Number 2, a Filipino folkway. Number 3, belief that there is no single best culture. Number 3, belief that there is no single best culture. Number 4, an effort to understand and learn about another culture to broaden one's perspective and connect with others across cultures. Number 5, spread of products, technology, information, and jobs across national borders or cultures. Number 6, learning by interaction. Number 7, it is cultural ignorance. Number 8, the ability to participate freely in the political process. Number 8, the ability to participate freely in the political process. And number 9, the act of using things or cultural value simply because of self-interest. Number 9, the act of using things of cultural value simply because of self-interest. And number 10, the ability to see things socially and how they interact and influence each other. Number 10, the ability to see things socially and how they interact and influence each other. For test 2, It's a word hunt. So you will find the appropriate word inside the box that matches the given clues on the other side. So you have to find the appropriate word inside the box that matches the given clues. So in number 1, the first clue is a state of limited awareness and intelligence. Number 1, a state of limited awareness and intelligence. In number 2, a lack of interest, enthusiasm, and concern. Number 3, assimilation or adoption of a foreign culture into your own native culture. Number 4, gradual acquisition of the characteristics and norms of a culture. Number 4, gradual acquisition of the characteristics and norms of a culture. Number 5, relating to the government of the public affairs of a country. Number 5, relating to the government of the public affairs of a country. Number 6, to make it less severe, serious, or painful. To make it less severe, serious, or painful. Number 7, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group. And number 7, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group. And number 8, the state of experience of being isolated from a group. The state of experience of being isolated from a group. That's number 8. And in number 9, the essential or characteristics, custom, and conventions of a community. Number 9, the essential or characteristic customs and conventions of a community. And number 10, the method of human communication, either spoken or written, consisting of the use of words in a structured and conventional way. So number 10, the method of human communication, either spoken or written, consisting of the use of words in a structured and conventional way. Okay, you're doing a great job. So, that's all for today's lesson. Well done, guys. I hope next time you will do a great job again. Bye!